started with dressage.
Yes, I sure did. I'm so fortunate to say that.
And I mean, I feel that, dressage, and actually I like to mix the English and Western disciplines a lot because I feel you can learn from both of them. And I know
Absolutely.
You do too. You and Al Dunning did a great article about equitation and how dressage and Western riding equitation is the same.
Sure.
And so that's why I love a lot of your stuff. So tell us how, your progression of that and what you found, what you think the key things of dressage are that apply to all horsemanship.
Sure, absolutely, I sure can. And actually, where I grew up in Sarasota, Florida, it was the winter grounds and destination and training grounds for the Ringling Circus. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, and my mentor was a rider and trainer on the Ringling Circus in the 40s.
Oh,
and 50s.
Fabulous.
And and then she also developed entertainment horses, of course, with the basis of dressage. And after the circus went on her own and did her entertainment, all major competitions like Madison Square Garden and American Royal and Toronto and so forth. And this fabulous lady was retired just down the street from where I lived.
Oh,
so
how
she
nice.
had the perfect white fence. Wooden fences and the red barn with the white trim on the Dutch doors, and I mean the dream horse farm.
Right, yeah.
And of course I'd ride my bike down there to peek and see if she was riding any horses, and I would watch her, and she finally noticed me and stopped when she was riding, introduced herself, and welcomed me in to meet her horses, and there I rode with her for more than 30 years.
Oh, that is just wonderful.
Yeah, and actually I competed. I wish, this was the late 60s and early 70s, in some of the first recognized dressage shows in the United States. And actually there's a very cool article about my mentor. Her name was Bobby Steele, in the Life magazine, written up in October 16th, 1943, as being the first woman to ride a rare 18th century a classical horsemanship called dressage. Yeah. So anyway, she's my mentor, and what I was learning, I'd take home and do on my ponies, and my first horse, which was a grade horse, and my second horse was also a grade horse, and I didn't get a registered quarter horse till I was 18.
Okay.
And my parents co-signed a note at the bank for me to buy my first registered quarter horse. So there the story goes on, but what I was learning from the dressage is, one, if I wanted to participate with the sport of riding, I had to learn to be a good rider.
Right.
But what I was learning even more is that if I wanted to learn how to train horses and understand their behaviors and understand how to work with them in a way that is correct to their anatomy and is natural to their habits and their instincts, it's really, dressage is really training the horse naturally, if you want to classify the same words together.
Okay.
But the best part that it also taught me is that as a rider, I could communicate this horse through the natural aids, feet, legs, hands.
Okay.
And how a horse naturally operates from back to front. And, of course, if I didn't have a perfect balance of the horse, he couldn't do what I wanted him to do.
Right.
And then as I was continuing to learn to ride and train, the more that I could control my horse's his balance to do what I was asking him to do, the more he could do more degree of difficulty in training. But the other thing is that dressage also teaches you that you have to condition and build and develop your horse to do more difficult things.
Right. Yeah.
So in that development, it's not different ways of training and different methods. And, we have so many people come to our programs and say, I read so many different things and so many different people's ideas and methods of training, I'm confused. Well, we don't have our own method. It's based on sound, successful, logical principles that the bottom line is that put the horse and rider together as a partner and a team, but it is developing the willingness of the horse is the bottom line.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think for those advanced maneuvers, and regardless of the discipline that you go in, it just doesn't happen overnight. The horse needs to build the muscle, learn how to do
He's got to
all
build
that.
The strength. He's got to keep confirming in his own actions to accept your aids and tries more for your aids, because the harder you ask him to do something, the more difficult it is for him.
Right. So one question I have is, I'd have to watch more, wild horses and things like that, and I do see them tend to roll that weight back over the hindquarters, and then especially the stallions when they're showing off and things like that. So that's where just for people, because a lot of the listeners have horses and compete, but other listeners just love horses in general, and so I try to keep things very easy and explain things. So when you talk about dressage and working with the horse's natural, movement and
his
function,
mechanics, how he's built, his anatomy, his anatomy and his behaviors and instincts. Yep.
So naturally, when they're just standing and walking around, most of their weight is on the front end, correct?
Well, always, because there's the weight of the head and neck. There's more weight on the front legs regardless.
Okay.
And a head and neck weighs approximately 250 pounds. But if you want that horse to operate with power and to be able to do that power and and propel the horse to do what you want him to do, he's got to get the weight off the front legs and transfer it more to the back legs, and or allows him to engage the hind legs deeper underneath his body.
Right.
Then the horse can then round his body and do what we call collect. And collect is where the horse then can do more degree of difficulty, such as sliding stops, faster spins, jump higher, multiple lead changes, very difficult, go up a mountain and down a mountain, easier in endurance.
Right.
So it's all a part of the correct mechanics or anatomy of a horse. It doesn't matter what breed it is.
Right. It amazes me that a head, even a human head, weighs, I don't know, 7-8 pounds, something like that. And so a horse is carrying 250. That's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot. But
so we want to get the weight off the front legs, which will always, I always like to describe to people anatomy of a horse is like a boat on water.
Okay.
Or an airplane. When the plane or the boat's going at a speed, it can ride real level. But if that plane needs to accelerate or decrease its speed, the front end has to come up.
Right.
So the power goes down to accelerate it. And that would be the same thing of going more forward with your horse or slowing down or uphill or downhill.
Wow, I like that analogy.
So you want everything.
That's great.
The more that the horse you can transfer the weight to the back, that's where it's the rider's responsibility. Learning to control your horse's body alignment and straightness is number one. Number two is as the horse is able through conditioning to be able to compact his body more and more, then the horse can, again, like I said, do more degree of difficulty because they have more power to do it.
Right. One thing that I like with the collection, and a way I tend to think about it, is when they are compact like that and the back is lifted and everything's rotated onto the hind end, it's like the legs are almost like pendulums and they're just free to swing and move about.
Absolutely. You got that right. That's why collection is not just setting the head. I never set a horse's head. I don't have to. It just comes in time and development.
Right. With building that muscle.
Exactly.
And then
if somebody thinks collection is pulling the head in, sorry, you're just blocking the horse and they're going to resist you some way or another.
Right. That
You
makes
got to
sense.
control the body alignment first. It's all about straightness.
And what tips do you have? Well, actually, because I'm going to assume that's a longer answer. So I don't want to. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and then we come back.
Yep.
I want to know how do you get a horse straight? Because I've found just in my own progression of stuff, for doing reining maneuvers and flying lead changes, the horse has to be straight, and that's a lot harder than you think.
Absolutely, yes. He's got to be straight while going straight or straight while curving.
Exactly.
On a curving line. There's the two body positions that we got to control. You bet.
Okay.
I can sure help you with that.
Great. So we're going to take a quick break, Lynn. If you'll just hold the line, stay tuned, everyone. We will be right back.
That's great. And I apologize about the phone before. So.
Oh, that's okay. No problem. Okay, we'll be right back.
Thanks so much.
Hold on.
Whiskey for my men, beer for my horses.